Hey friends, Ashley Berges here, and thanks for joining me today. I'm talking about learning to let go of the things that no longer add to your life and no longer benefit you. I like to call this cleaning house. If any of you have recently cleaned your house, you know that it takes time and effort and determination. And just like cleaning your house and organizing your closet, right, is cleaning your house in your own life and organizing your friends, your thoughts, what you want to do in life to make sure that you center yourself with the right toolbox, but better yet, center yourself with people and thoughts that benefit you instead of pulling you down or slowing you down or going the opposite direction from you. So today I want to talk about that metaphorically cleaning house when it comes to your personal life, your thoughts, your thinking, and your friends. And so I think there's no better place to start with than the people who are in your life, because people are so important to us. You know, our relationships with other people are very important to our growth. I mean, having friends and having people around that we learn from them, we can see when we're mirroring them, we can see when they might be frustrating us because it hits too close to home. And also we can see sometimes when somebody's maybe not living up to their full potential. And we might start worrying or wondering, but oftentimes we have to realize that sometimes we got to let some of these folks go to allow new friendships and new authentic relationships in our life. Just because you've known someone forever, and I've known some people for a really long time, doesn't mean that you have to be in their life forever or in the same capacity. So I'm not saying you got to kick people to the curb tomorrow, but what I am saying is start to measure. Does this person have like a purpose and drive like I have, and can we really connect? Does this person understand me, and do I understand them? It's not all about us, right? It's a two-way street. But also, does this person add to my quality of life? Are they authentic and real? And am I being authentic and real in my own life? Anytime you've been around people who are authentic and real versus people that haven't found that yet, there's a big difference. And it's hard to center your life around those folks who haven't really found how to be honest and truthful and authentic, and try to save this group as well that are being authentic and truthful. It's hard to do both, right? It's kind of like hard to be, sober and being an alcoholic at the same time. It doesn't really work, right? And so we have to make that choice. And I know that can sound a little off-putting, but when you want to have a real life and you want to be truthful and you want to have people around you that add to your quality of life, and I'm not talking about everything's going to be roses all the time, but I am talking about finding that group of people that gets you and understand your domain in the direction that you want to go. Because there is a real difference between people going through the motions, people that haven't figured it out yet, people that might be fake, and people that are being authentic. And sometimes when we're trying to raise ourselves up and doing the right thing and being honest and actually identifying our emotions and identifying our feelings and seeing what we need to do in our own life to better our own self and actually working toward that, when we're around people doing the antithetical, the opposite, it can irritate us, it can bring us down, and it can also slow our progress down, because it's almost like you're around an energy that almost stops progress in its tracks. So wouldn't you want to be around other people who actually are aiming for that? And it's not perfection, right? It's just bettering, being better than you were yesterday, not being better than other people. The next thing is letting go of those old ways of thinking. So it's not just the people that we got to figure out, and the friends, and the old school friends, and family, and all that stuff, but it's the old ways of thinking. Our ways of thinking can either propel us forward in a dynamic way, or they can hold us back, or literally keep us right in one spot for a very long time. And so let's look at those old ways of thinking. What no longer holds value in your life? What no longer holds value? What are those thoughts that have held you back? Can you change those? Can you augment them? Can you dismiss them, or can you move on? I've had thoughts in my life where I'm never going to be able to accomplish this, or I'm never going to be that successful, or XYZ, a lot of those thoughts. Some people have thoughts about how they're never going to find a spouse or somebody to live with or somebody to grow with and love through eternity. They wonder if they'll ever find anybody. And so a lot of their old ways of thinking is, I'm always going to be alone my whole life. It's never going to work for me. Some people that feel challenged by work will say, well, I'm never going to get that good job. I'm always going to be working this awful job that I can't stand. And some of us think, I'm never going to find that group of people that actually get me or understand me or think about the stuff that I think about, or the cool universal thoughts, or what if there were aliens, or whatever. It's cool to be able to have other people to talk with about eye-opening things that actually matter to you, or maybe even the meaning of life and why we're here. It's interesting how our thinking can really hold us back, and that thinking needs to be gotten rid of. That's not for the recycle bin. That is literally for the trash, because that stuff that holds us back is the stuff that later on causes that regret in our life that sucks so much. I mean, regret is worse than anything, because at least if you do something and it doesn't work out, I don't think that you failed. And I know that I've said this before in a couple other videos, but it really makes sense to me. When I try something and I go after it wholeheartedly and I care about it, even if in this society, in this universe, they consider it failure, I consider it triumph, because I did it. And I know that I tried it. And if I want to try it again, I can. But if I didn't try it, I would regret it for the rest of my life. What if? What if I could have done this? What if I could have really been successful? What if I would have fallen on my face, but I would have gotten to experience that? That to me is worth it. That to me is worth trying anything. Last but not least, when we're talking about letting go of the old ways of thinking, is that negative broken record that I've addressed in other videos, to be aware of that record. Now, that record might say that, I'm not successful, or I'm a loser, or it's never going to work out for me, or I'm always misunderstood, or nobody cares about me, or I don't have real friends, or I'm always alone. Whatever that negative broken record says, it's negative thoughts that rotate over and over again, like in a record, where how if a record breaks, well, I know that's old school, but let's just say like a CD has a scratch or something happens where you're listening to it and the lyric repeats itself because it's broken. Like on a record it would break, and so it would repeat it back and forth. It'd be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, whatever. But if it was like a negative broken record going over and over again, it would just facilitate and remind us of that negative thought. And so being aware of those negative thoughts that are in your mind all the time, and beginning to say, hey, if I think this negative thought about this, like I'm never going to be successful, what if I turn that around and say I am successful? Because our thoughts become things. I know that sounds simple in the beginning to make that change, but that negative thought that has no bearing in reality seems to have, created our reality. Why not create a new, awesome, authentic reality? The third thing that we want to do is letting go of negative habits. Letting go of those negative habits that tend to hold us back, keep us in an old way of thinking, keep us in that old ideology, and keep us around the less authentic and less real people, because negative habits hold us back. Let's think about those negative habits. Negative habits are anything that don't better me. It's the things that we need to evaluate and reevaluate in our life. For example, maybe smoking, drinking, drugs, doing pharmaceutical drugs, etc. Those things that don't better our life. Instead, they kind of take away from our quality of life. I know when I was younger, I used to think that I looked way cool smoking cigarettes. Like, I thought I looked so cool. And I would go to clubs and hang out and smoke my cigarette, and I looked so cool. And you know what? It's not that cool anymore. And I'm not bashing anybody that's smoking, but it wasn't bettering me in any way. I mean, it wasn't like I was having like these great conversations. And when it comes to drinking, maybe having a drink or two is okay. But when you're over drinking on a constant basis, are you finding that you're surrounded by people who have a tendency, perhaps, of over drinking as well? And it doesn't seem to be bettering your life. Instead, it seems to be kind of holding you back. And I've worked with some clients recently who are experiencing that very thing, where their friends, their close-knit group of people, are doing the same thing in excess as they are, and they seem to not be able to get out of the problem. Why is it? Because birds of a feather flock together, because it's hard to leave an old habit behind when everybody else is doing it. I mean, it's really hard. If you've ever tried to stop smoking cigarettes where everybody in your household is smoking, try it out. It really is really tough to do. I mean, when you're trying to quit smoking and everybody around you smoking, try it. It's hard. You have to have extreme willpower. And then you got to step back and ask yourself, why are you trying to walk and run this uphill battle? when you could actually be spending more time with people who maybe already have it together, aren't having to go through that, or maybe being an accountability partner for you to be able to move forward and to move past this. And overcoming addictions is not easy. But when we begin to realize that it might not be a necessary addiction, but it might be a crutch, and identifying those crutches in our life and asking ourselves honestly, what can we begin to do to offset this crutch? And why does it matter so much? And what is the value of my life? Okay, because I value my life enough that I didn't want to keep smoking, because I knew the longer I smoked, the worse my health would become. And eventually when I do get older, I'll have a really not so good quality of life. And it really matters to me that when I'm in my 70s, 80s, and 90s that I'm still driving around and doing something. And I care about that. And maybe that seems like a long-term goal, but I care about my body so much that I had to work to let that addiction go. Last but not least is embracing you and working daily to add to your worldly life perspective, okay? So begin to embrace yourself. When we do these things, when we clean house, metaphorically speaking, we're doing this because we care about ourselves, because we want to grow, because we believe in our success, because we know there's more to us than what we're doing right now. Because you and I both know it's not the competition with our friends. It's not about that. It's not competing who's better or who's smarter or who's better looking. None of that. It's about being better than you were yesterday. And how do you do that? By putting your thoughts in a positive state, by letting go of the things that no longer work with you. And that's not a bad thing, because if you think about it, it's kind of a two-way street. Even if it's people involved, if you and them are not going the same direction, then you're kind of holding them back as well. So it's not all about you. When we do what's right by ourselves in a positive, authentic manner, we're doing right by the other people in our life. And so one thing to think about is that when you're spending less time with someone that you spent a lot of time with in the recent past, realize that you are letting them also make their choices in their life. You're not trying to change their dynamic or their direction or trying to change who they are, because we can't change other people. It's not right. It's like goes against karma. We can't do that, but what we can do is we can give suggestions if somebody asks for our input. But other than that, we got to let people live their own life and vice versa. I hope that this video has helped you in cleaning your house, putting into the thought process about what needs to be done and what you can do to better your life, and some of the things you can do internally, but also dealing with the folks outside and in your circle. Please check out the rest of the videos on this channel. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love it if you do. Tell other people, tell your friends and family, tell some of those folks who are authentic and real in your life about this channel, and maybe how it impacts you, as well as liking the video and making a comment on the thread about some of the metaphorical cleaning of house that you've done and how it worked for you, how long it took. Give some help to the folks that are watching, because I think that your help and this video will really impact people. And I know that you can bring an awesome new quality and truthful perspective. Thank you for watching, and live your true life today.